Welcome back, everyone, to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. I'm your host, Eric Pervosnik, and with us tonight, co-host Christine Leninger.
Hello.
How are you, Christine?
Fabulous.
And not with us tonight. Jim is on vacation. Marty is unfortunately MIA. He had a doctor's appointment, but I'm glad that he's feeling better and rehabbing with a previous guest. Courtesy Mr. Cameron Lowe and his Halo Wellness. He hooked Marty up with some treatments out in Cali. So Marty will be back soon, feeling better than ever, thanks to our guest, Cameron Lowe. And we have with us tonight our second time guest. She has been a referee, football referee from Pop Warner all the way up to the NFL and everything in between. She is also the director of officials over at the Canyon Athletic Association, and here to promote her book, Lady Ref, Making Calls in a Man's World. Welcome back to All Over the Place, Shannon Eastin.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for Christine for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Very welcome. Our pleasure. And I mentioned the bona fides there, football from the little kids all the way up through the big babies in the NFL. And now you've got the book. What prompted you to do the book at this stage of the game?
The book is something that I'd been wanting to do for quite some time, but until every last avenue had been explored in terms of trying to get back into the NFL or wherever else I was going to go, I couldn't tell the entire story. So now that officially I'm done, there's no way back for me to get back into the NFL. It was really a perfect time for me to bring this book out to the public and tell the whole story.
Nice. And one thing I really like about the book is the conversational style. It is like, and full disclaimer here, and that I have been a referee for Shannon for most of my years here in Arizona, whether it's on the football field, basketball field, but mostly baseball and softball. But the conversational tone, it's just like being in a room with you telling stories. And just how easy was it for you to just have all the recall and just go through it and make this book just so easy to read and just fun to read?
Honestly, this was not easy. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I had an incredible co-writer who really brought the story to life. I thought I could write, so to speak, but not anything like what the book needed to be. So I'm forever grateful to her for bringing the story to life and make it what it is, because I'm not saying it because it's my story, believe me, but it's just really a good story, and how it is written, I give her the credit for that. It's easy to read. It's one of those books you can pick it up, and a few people have said it's kind of hard to put down because you can kind of flow right through it. So
absolutely. And I got it yesterday and I'm almost done. I'm getting there. So, but like the conversational sense, the little asides and everything, and just the main theme that keeps coming back is just adversity, and just standing up to it, facing it down, and just knocking it down, and just when I mean it's in the book, but just let's give a little teaser to some portions of the book. But at what point in your life did you realize, what, nothing's going to stop me? This is who I am, and whatever, what I want, I'm going to get.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize I wanted to be an official until 1996. Never even thought about it, which is weird, because when I had that aha moment, I was like, why didn't I think about this sooner? But basically, I was coaching some camps with Christian Athlete Ministries and had to officiate basketball for the teams in between coaching my team. And the first time I blew a whistle, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so So it was like a light bulb went off. And at that moment, I thought, I'm going to become a basketball official. And then because of my love of football, I asked myself and a few people if it would be kind of weird to do football, because there wasn't really many women that I knew of that were doing football at the time. And I was told, no, go for it. So fast forward, I did work basketball, but my real passion was football from the beginning. So, yeah, so it wasn't something that I could say I grew up, and as a kid, I wanted to be an official. I had no idea. I never even thought about it. So it was really, that moment was when I decided.
Well, one thing I failed to mention in your intro is you're 6-time judo champion, national judo champion, correct? And just and that's where I'm thinking back to, just sports or competition and all that, and just what drew you to judo, especially at a time when judo was not something that could be competed at at upper levels for women.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I was, I don't know, 6, 7 years old, I had a love for the game of football and thought I would love to play. And I know you could play Pop Warner football, even though, again, there wasn't many girls doing it. I asked my mom if I could play, and she said no. So we looked into some other things, and that was kind of our compromise. I didn't even really know what judo was all about, but I wanted something that was more of a contact sport. And so actually I tried karate first. I was real bored, and then found judo, and it came real easy. Not easy, it's a lot of hard work, but it came natural to me. So yeah, it was a big part of my childhood. So yeah.
And you've got an older brother, and being an older brother, did you want to get into the contact sports so that maybe it could be a way to make sure he wasn't picking on you as much?
No, no, I don't think so. But there was one day that he was causing me some issues, and I got him in a pin and told him I wasn't letting him up until my mother got home. So it did come in handy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Let's just say I'm glad that my brothers never figured out anything until they actually got bigger than I was, and then that just changed the dynamic completely. And they're both football players. I was the soccer player, so a little more frail. Yeah. Now I got to watch out for Christine's 2 boys as they get bigger. So yeah, it's. I keep warning the little one that they might get bigger. So and you mentioned your mom, and one of the things and those of us who grew up in the 70s and the 80s, our moms or our dads, it was typically the moms who were taking us to our competitions, to our games and everything. And one thing I really liked about your mom, not only driving you literally, but she also, was there to drive you and to inspire you. And tell us about that relationship you had with your mom in that regard.
My mom was with me every step of the way. She was my biggest supporter. She was a person pushing me as hard as, maybe even harder than maybe she should have a little bit, but she also knew that I wanted to be the best, and knew what it took to make sure that I had every opportunity to be the best, to get the best coaching, take me anywhere I needed to go. Bought a van so we could drive across the country so I could go to all the competitions that I needed to go to. So she was one of those, a little bit of the crazy mom on the sideline, screaming her head off for me. And I really honestly never even heard her, which is kind of funny, but very passionate about what I was doing for sure. And yeah, she just, she did everything she could to make sure that I had an opportunity to be successful.
That's wonderful. So Shannon, you mentioned about, and of course the title of your book is Lady Ref, Making Calls in a Man's World, that adversity. What have you learned, like overall, what have you learned and, coming up through, being an official and getting to the NFL and all of that? What do you bring forward with you now?
I've learned a lot. Obviously, there was a lot of perseverance. There was a lot of things that during the time that I came up that things have changed now. Doors have swung wide open for women in officiating. So that is completely different than the time that I grew up or was coming up in officiating. One thing I would say personally that I learned, and I try to when I speak to young officials coming up, is I didn't have any balance in my life. I had none. Everything I did was I wanted to be an NFL official. I did everything I could, went to every camp, didn't take vacations. Every dollar I spent was to go to a football camp, missed a lot of family things. you need to do what you need to do to accomplish your goals. Yes. But if I could say anything that I learned about myself personally, is that I lost the balance of my life, and that family and friends are far more important than, being all in to the point where you miss out on opportunities. And, it's hard, you don't want to say you regret things because it's kind of a strong word, but, my dad passed away last year, and there's a lot of, missed opportunities. Now you look back and you're like, wow, time can be all too short. And I think that's the thing that I love more about my book than I like the football aspect of it, is just the life, and talking about life and about the things that are more important. And I do, Eric, you haven't got to that part of the book, but I do talk about some people that have died, and that, that you just never expected. And many people that were super instrumental to me that I talk about in my book. Oh my gosh, the list is so long of those that aren't even here anymore. So, so if I say anything, it's just, try to maintain balance in pursuit of those dreams, and not lose that.
Well, the two people you dedicated the book to, Tom Scarduzio and Dan Evans, tell us about them
Yeah,
and how
well,
they
Tom,
helped you move along.
yeah, oh man, without him, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Tom Scarduzio was the supervisor of junior college here in Arizona, and super progressive in his thinking. He was a lawyer. He was just one of those guys that the idea of bringing a woman in, he was my biggest cheerleader. If it wasn't him in that position and it was somebody else, I don't know. I don't know if they would have gave me the opportunity. But he was completely open to it. Just wanted to make sure I was prepared, which is great. I needed to be. But he gave me an opportunity that I might not otherwise have gotten at the junior college level here. And then fast forward to years later, when I was banging my head on that glass ceiling, repeatedly trying to get to the next level, Dan Evans gave me an opportunity in the MEAC. And it's funny how everything works together. And I hope when you read the book, you see how things just worked together for the story. And I actually had met Dan years previous, a gentleman by the name of Johnny Greer, who was an NFL official. He's also passed away. Johnny had invited me to Florida A&M to work a scrimmage. And the referee that was working that game was Dan Evans. And so I worked a few snaps on the line of scrimmage. And then Dan had asked, do you referee at all? And I said, I love to referee. I just don't at the higher levels, because like, you're never going to move as a referee. And he's like, here you go. The scrimmage is yours. So like after 5 snaps, he took a seat and said, this scrimmage is yours. And so I took his spot. And then years later, when I didn't know where else to go anymore, I was like about ready to throw in the towel. I heard that Dan Evans was the supervisor of the MEAC now. So I sent him an email, and this was literally this was like a Hail Mary. I'm like, hello, Dan. I don't even know if you're going to remember me. We met at Florida A&M years ago. He goes, yes, I remember you, and I need a referee. And I'm like, I'm not asking to be a referee. I'm asking, I just want to get in the conference. And he's like, nope, I need a referee. And so, unheard of to get hired as the crew chief for a Division I conference, but Dan gave me that opportunity because he remembered what I did at Florida A&M. And so without those two guys, I mean, who knows how this story goes? You just don't know. And unfortunately, Dan has passed away as well. So very sad. Both Tom Scarduzio and Dan have both passed away.
And that's one of the things I in the short time that we've known each other, that it's that paying it forward. And you're definitely someone who, sees talent in somebody and then tries to nurture that talent and bring them up. So it's cyclical. And just as you do that, and especially when you mentioned to the women who are referees, and you're telling them the opportunities that they have, you're obviously the first person doing anything is the most difficult. Mm-hmm. But as you've done that, and you see doors opening wider now, do you see, or how much do you see with the pendulum swinging to a point where who cares if you're a woman? Mm-hmm. What are your qualifications? Are you being based on the merits of what you know as a referee?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great that the doors are opening for women. There's no doubt about that. They needed to open, but now as women that are being given those opportunities, you need to be prepared. You need to be ready. I mean, it's not going to help anybody for you to just step in and not be prepared for the opportunity that you're given. So I just, I'm, of course, we're grateful we're grateful that things have swung the opposite direction, but we need to make sure that we don't take that for granted, and that we realize that it doesn't mean we have a free pass, that we need to get in and we need to be strong and not blow the opportunities that we're given. So, sorry about that. My little puppy's asking for attention all the time.
Oh, we're used to dogs on this show. They want to be a part of it. We get it. No apology necessary there.
But anyways.
Well, and as a mentor and as a trainer, as an assigner, what have been some of your more memorable success stories?
A couple people that I have had the opportunity to help mentor, train, are working professional in 2 different sports, basketball and football. So that's awesome. Glad I got to share a tiny little piece of, their success story and help them to meet, to reach their goals as well. So that's really cool to see. And not just officials, but I've also officiated. Gosh, I'm dating myself. I won't tell you the players that I've officiated, because then you're like, you're really old. but just some of the
We're
players.
The same age. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're all the same age. It's okay.
Some of the players, though, that have now gone on to the NBA or the NFL, that have actually, I think, gotten there and now have retired. So that tells you where we're at. So
they have very short careers. Okay.
Yeah. So that's really cool. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
And Christine, there is a portion in the book, and again, to date ourselves on this one, but Shannon was watching the Super Bowl between your Bears and her Patriots. Although, Shannon, you count yourself a little bit of a Bears fan too, but Walter Payton is mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always nice to see Sweetness's name.
Yeah.
I'm not a Bears fan, but Walter Payton was my favorite player.
That's what, Walter.
And I have a very sad story that I write about. Do I tell the story in the book about how the ball was stolen? I can't remember. Maybe I didn't.
The only thing I remember, as far as I've gotten now, you mentioned that you wanted to have him. A goal of yours was to have him autograph a football.
Yeah, so I had the '86 Super Bowl commemorative ball, and I said I'm not going to have anybody sign it until I can find Walter Payton and have him sign it personally. So I held the ball until I think it was 2006 when the Super Bowl was here. I think it was. So 20 years I had that ball. And Walter Payton was signing at a mall here locally. So I brought the ball and I'm like, I've been holding this ball for 20 years to get your signature on it. Well, unfortunately, my house was broken into a few years later. That ball is no longer with me. It was the only thing possession-wise of that kind of thing that I really valued, and it was very sad. I still think that ball one day will come back to me, but it's no longer with me. So
the football gods, the lowercase g, of course, but these things, something will make its way back to you. I am positive of that.
Well, and in the book, there's a horrible picture of me with Walter Payton, but it was the only one I had. And there's a picture of me and him in the ball after he signed it. So it is in the book. So if anybody reads the book, take a look at that picture and that ball. It's very identifiable. If you see that ball, please bring it back.
The person who did it. Reach out to Shannon.
Bring it back home to me.
So, you can do it anonymously. Your friend who stole it will not be identified by you.
Yes.
Maybe. Well, and speaking with God, uppercase G in this case, as a fellow believer, one of the through lines of the book, your faith. And just, similarly, we're a strong believer, younger, falling away, but then coming back. Talk to us about how your relationship with God has helped guide you.
Yeah. when you write a book like this, when I first wrote the first draft before I ever had a ghostwriter and then a co-writer later on, I didn't mention any of my massive failures. And the first person that read it, they're like, "Man, you are so perfect, aren't you?" I said, "No, I'm the least perfect person I know." They're like, "All right, we need to put some of that imperfection into your book." And so you will see that when you read it. That's the stuff that, it's kind of hard to let people know that, man, I failed. I failed miserably in some regards. And, but thankfully, through my failures, God was still there for me every step of the way. And, the thing that I love the most is that in sharing those with people, it's sometimes it makes people identify with you more and understand, and maybe I can help somebody get through some of the same things that I went through. And the one thing that is really unbelievable about my biggest failure, which was I had an affair with a married man, and which was very hard for me to share. But fast forward, us eventually later, after years of on again, off again, our breakup was what drove him to God, because he needed something in his life. And so it's for me to say that I wouldn't do it all over again if I didn't. I mean, yeah, it was definitely something I'm not proud of, but look at how God took a situation that was not of him. And now this man is serving God. He is serving at his church. He is leading a small groups. So, he can take our failures and just bring the most beautiful thing from them, regardless. I'm not proud of some of the things that I did, but God was faithful through it out, for sure.
Well, I do. He is a kind and forgiving God.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
another through lines in the book is, how competitive you get, and most certainly what drove you as an athlete. And I love the fact I didn't realize you had a brief little foray into the boys wrestling world in high school, and then Chip. But just your competitive drive. How did you take that as an athlete and then turn that into what you did and just all on the road to the NFL?
Yeah. I've just always felt like I needed to be the best, or I could be the best. Like, I'm very realistic with my abilities. I always say, could I ever play in the NFL? Absolutely not. But did I feel from the beginning I could be an official in the NFL? 100%. So I feel like I'm very realistic with what I can do. And then when I realize, like in judo, that national championships, whatever, those were things that were in my grasp, then it was like up to me to do everything I could to see that I met those goals. And so I've always been really competitive. It's something that I say I'm not not that competitive anymore. And they're like, "Oh yeah, right." And crazy story, just to show you that I still unfortunately am very competitive, is that I started volunteering with my church youth group, and they had cage ball dodgeball night. And guess who ends up breaking their arm because she has to be the last one standing, dodging balls. And, this one right here, I break my arm. So, and even when I stepped in that cage, I said, remember, you're not young anymore. You don't need to be the last person standing. Just get in there and have fun. And what do? I'm diving, whatever. And yeah.
We don't have an off switch.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible.
You slide in shorts. I don't know anyone who's done that, but when we another thing I love seeing this is, and we're going to get a plug in for Jeffrey Bryan right now, mentioning the Rocky theme. When you would walk into your judo things, and then eventually in 1982 it would have been Eye of the Tiger is playing. Mm-hmm. So one of our former guests now plays keyboards with Survivor. So it was. When you've had these things in your life, folks, when you've got, Bill Conti and the Rocky theme, and then Survivor doing Eye of the Tiger, we can't, even as we get later in life, we do not know how to turn off the competitive switch. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I still, when I hear that song, Eye of the Tiger, it's like, I feel like I'm back in the gym. I'm like, I get pumped up and I'm like, bam, bum, 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 it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, it just stays with you,
Is that your go song, Shannon?
When I was training, oh yeah, that was a song that got me pumped up for sure. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
I already stepped in a little bit when I said that, I may or may not give a kid a better strike zone if you can tell me what movie Eye of the Tiger comes from, if that's their walk-up song. So it's may or may not. I'll neither deny nor confirm that. And
well, you guys like talking about that competitive spirit that you have. Should we talk about before the show what you guys were talking about?
Hey, all I know is Shannon can say I'm dodging her on the Galaga all she wants. I've laid down several opportunities to get out and play it again. I will gladly, next time I'm near the CAA office, come in and play on the mini machine. I'll do my best on it. May or may not win, don't know. All I know is anyone who's ever said they can beat me in Galaga, they walk away from a regular machine and they're like, okay, you were right.
Do you hear what he just said, folks? He said from a regular machine.
Regular machine.
He has to qualify that with a regular machine because he threw this challenge out to me, and we found one of the giant machine.
I couldn't. Look, I'll be the first.
I did not walk away a winner. So
I lost by. I lost by maybe 4. I think, if I recall correctly, it was less than 5,000 points. But I did lose. But look, I wasn't as strong on the big machine. I won't deny it. But you put me on a regular machine, I'll flip the machine, and within 25 minutes.
That's what he keeps saying. So I don't know.
I've actually seen him do it a couple times.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll get even then.
And not just saying, Christine's not just saying that because she is my PIP, my partner in perpetuity. So.
Yeah. So Shannon, from being on the field to being in the office, like, what's better? What's harder? Like, what's
honestly, I mean, probably the assigning is probably harder because it's just, oh my God, I'm not just keeping track of my one schedule and having to do a good job and things like that, but I'm keeping track of 400 people's schedules. And sometimes I hate to say it, I call it adult babysitting because you just would be blown away by the things that grown men and women can't handle on their own, and they count on their assigner to help them through it. So I'm here to help them. There's no doubt about that, but it can be very challenging and taxing for sure. So.
Well, I will say that I do my best to accept my assignments in a timely manner, and Shannon is very patient on times where I may have forgotten to block a date. So
nope, Eric is he is not one of the ones I'm talking about. He's not. He is very good.
I do my best to be responsible in keeping track of things, no doubt about it.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. I really do.
And now, one of the chapters, again, with the adversity and the glass ceilings that you're facing, and just whether it was the sexual harassment, the apparent sabotage, the blatant misogyny in the NFL, but you just kept plugging away at it, and but it's just how difficult, or just what was it easier? Was it cathartic writing the book to relive those things?
Yeah, I think in a way it is. I mean, people say it's therapy to write things down. There's no doubt about that. It's almost like, and it's really hard because people ask me a lot of questions, and it's funny to say I don't like talking about myself. I really don't. And so now that I have the book, I'm like, you need to read the book because it really tells the entire story. Because to just tell you, if you ask me a question, I just try to tell you one little snippet. It doesn't really make sense until you see it in the entirety of the book. But I think it definitely was helpful, no doubt about it. Just to put it all out there, and it's not just everything whatever bad that happened to me or that I had to go through. There was a lot of people that helped me, and I wanted people that helped me to know how much they impacted my life, like Dan and Tom Scarduzio, and there's so many other people that I wanted them to see in writing that all this stuff I came against, but I still had these great, amazing people that were there to help me through it. And thank God for those people. So, so it's both. It's telling the story. It's telling a story that I felt needed to be told. It's not to, trying to make anybody feel bad, or it's just what I went through. And, I think it's a good story that needed to be told.
And another thing that comes across and in the portions that I've read so far, just surrounding yourself with people, whether it's your mother or your father or just your siblings, your friends, surrounding yourself with people who want to build you up.
Absolutely.
All ships rise together.
Mm-hmm.
And pettiness, and if you can't change the people around you, you change the people around you.
Exactly. And I always say, for every one person that would tell me I couldn't do it, I tried to find 3 or 4 people that told me I could. And you got to hang with those people. You're going to find that encouragement. And when you really need it, trust me, God's going to send somebody your way that's going to give you that boost you need. So, yeah, I had a lot of great people that helped me.
And as you're putting the book together, I'm just wondering, and going back and like talking with people, did you go back and to help with recollect certain events? And if so, just what was their reaction like to you assembling and writing the book?
Yeah. So, fortunately, I kept every email communication that I ever had, good or bad. So I was told that I would not have really been able to write the story as in-depth as I did had I not done that. Because when I tell you that I have documentation on everything pretty much I am speaking about, or there was somebody in the room in some of the scenes where I talk about I had some conflict with somebody, there was people there that could testify to what happened. And I'm the type of person, I really don't want to be the over exaggerator. I'm like, I'll downplay a story because I don't want you to, be like, oh my gosh. And I mean, I really tried to really just stick to the facts. And of course, some of how I felt, of course, is in that, but I really stuck to the facts on this because this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I have a binder full of documentation. So I had that to fall back on. And then I did have some conversations with people. And when the book was coming out, I had to get some permissions to use certain names. And then there was other people that were like, you ain't using my name. If you do, I'm suing you. So then we had to, so I mean, you got to be respectful of people. And, unfortunately, people in Arizona that lived it with me, they're going to know who those people are, regardless whether their names.
Right.
But I want to be respectful of, everybody involved. So
sure. And Christina, you as a publisher, I'm sure you like the fact when someone has all that documentation there for you.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I don't even know why I was keeping it. That's the weirdest thing. It's like, why was I? And then I did, and I'm like, man, I mean, and some great emails that I read, and it just makes me smile. Some of the stuff I quote in there, that the good emails that I got, that, I mean, those are like priceless to me now. But yeah, for some reason I kept everything, and that's weird because my personality is I don't keep stuff. I'm gonna rip up and throw things away if I'm not, I don't like a lot of junk. But this, I just kept everything in a binder, and I just kept.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
I will once again go back to that the big guy that we love so much. He wanted you to keep that for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And I always say everything happens for a reason. I do believe that. And if I was and maybe, there's so many reasons why the NFL, I wasn't able to get back in because of my support had left. And, there'd been not official promises, but there'd been conversation about, we need to get you back in. But if I would have got back in, I would not have been able to tell this story right now. And so it makes me wonder if that is the reason why I didn't get back in, because this story needed to be told. I don't know.
Well, I'm excited that you've got it out there now, and it's and actually another question I've got down as you're putting it together, and I guess through the years as well, with all the obstacles you had to face, and then you knock those obstacles down. Did anyone ever, give you a mea culpa? Like, you know what? I was probably too hard on you on that one. You do know what you're doing. You are an excellent referee.
Oh yeah, there was one of my favorite stories of the book is about a coach who, I mean, I don't want to tell it all, but I mean,
No,
it is literally one of my favorite stories, and it's about Coach G. And again, unfortunately, Coach G has passed, and I've reached out to his kids through Facebook trying to find somebody because I want them to see what I wrote about their dad in this book, because he was one of those guys. He was relentless with me my first game, and if you haven't gotten to this part in the book, this is a great story. And he was terrible. Like, he'd never had a woman on the sideline before. He didn't know how to handle himself. He was the old school guy. It was terrible. And unfortunately, that game, the entire chain crew was all women as well. So he was out of his mind. And so I moved the chain crew to the other side of the field because I thought, you know what? It's my job to take what I'm going to take, but they don't need to take it. So we'll just move them to the other side of the field. Well, he realized, he went home that night and he had some sort of aha moment because he realized he did not treat me right. He did not treat me fairly. And he judged me just because I was a woman, and called my supervisor on a Sunday. I happened to be working at a hotel that day, and said, Coach G, is it okay? He wants to call you. And I'm like, okay. And he calls me and he's like, I need to come see you. And I'm like, no. He's like, Shannon, if I do not get to come see you, I will kill myself. Now, he wasn't suicidal, but he was just trying to express that he had to come see me. And he brought me chocolates, and I can't remember if it was flowers, and this card, the most beautiful card, and what he wrote inside. And it's just funny. I write what he wrote in the book. I write what he wrote in the card. And he basically just says, and then my co-writer does a fantastic job of bringing another part of that story later on into the book that is just perfect. But he basically just says I was a professional, and I won't use the words he used, and he was not. And you know what? I don't even, people say, well, how do you feel about that? It's like, you know what? I don't really even blame him. Was it right? No, of course it wasn't right. But he'd never faced a woman before. And he came to the realization that he was wrong, where I've had other coaches before where it didn't matter what I did. I'm a female, I'm wrong, period. That's where they stay. This man, the integrity of this man, to realize in less than 24 hours how horribly he treated me and to right that wrong, I give him all the credit in the world. I mean,
That doesn't happen usually.
No. What a great.
Unfortunately,
man.
yes.
Yeah. So I wish, again, he's another guy that I just wish he could read what I wrote about him, because, but I hope his family will get to read it. And so, yeah.
Well, one of the things I try to impart onto kids is whether I'm instructing them or teaching or whatever it may be, I like to tell them there are a few things in life more rewarding than proving somebody wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you were able to do that. I'm glad you're able to get the book written, and it's getting out there now. And now the release date is when in September?
Technically, I think it's September 13th, but everybody that's ordered it from Roman and Littlefield, they've already most of them already got their copies.
Oh, get it. Okay. Well,
they've already got them. Now, Amazon people haven't. And funny as it seems, I haven't gotten my advance copies from Roman, but my friends have. So and it's in Barnes and Noble in Scottsdale already for sure, because they've got them already ready for the book signing. They're already selling them. So it's out there. It is out there. So.
Okay. So Arizona people, you know where to go.
Yeah.
And also Arizona people is where I was leading this direction with it. Now, Shannon's got some book signings, some meet and greets and book signings coming up. Scottsdale will be at the Barnes and Noble, and that's going to be on September 16th in Scottsdale, September 23rd at the Barnes and Noble in Mesa, and then into October 21st, the Barnes and Noble down in Tucson. The Tucson one is at 1:00, and the Scottsdale and Mesa one's at 2:00. Yep. And so Amazon people, you have to wait a little bit longer, but then if they want to get it now, Shannon, who is they want to go straight to the publisher?
Yeah, if you go straight to the publisher, everything that it says pre-order, but people are getting their books. So I've had friends that ordered 10 copies. They've already got them. So Roman and Littlefield seems to be shipping them already. For some reason, I don't see the Amazon people getting them quite yet. And then, like I said,
You
local.
go right to your website, right? It's
I'm so bad at that. Is it still up there? I hope
ShannonEastin.com.
so. ShannonEaston.com. I believe I put the link up there a while ago for Roman and Littlefield.
It is there. Yes, I did
Okay.
check that earlier
Thank
today.
you,
So
because
get that.
I am super bad with social media in my
You're
website.
right there, folks, right on the ticker right now, ShannonEaston.com. You can go there for that. And Shannon, thank you for the advance copy on the book. Right, and I'm enjoying reading it. Like I said, I'm 5 chapters deep already. That was just an afternoon. So it's
my favorite chapter. I can't wait to get to my favorite chapter. It's called Life Changers. It's about an official named Terry Yosick and his grandson. And I hope you. I can't wait to talk to you after you read that chapter. That's my favorite chapter of the whole book.
Well, I know people are going to want to get to this because, well, football season, college football has officially started. We're knee deep into that. We're even further this coming weekend as we're taping right now. But the NFL season is right around the corner, folks. You can get this book, have it done before the first NFL kickoff. So definitely go check that out at Barnes & Noble or at just go to ShannonEaston.com and you can get the link to get that through the publisher.
Thank you.
And Shannon, thank you again for joining us here on All Over the Place. Always fun to have you on the show. And you're only the second. You're the second member of the 2-time club.
Well, thank you so much. It's so fun to talk to you guys. It really, truly is. So much fun.
Our pleasure, our honor. So thank you again. And we'll see you. If nothing else, I'm going to see you at the CAA office and get that Galaga machine ready.
Oh boy.
Rephrase, the mini Galaga machine.
Oh, that's funny.
All over the place, where the fun sanity never ends.